Okay, so now we're discussing the French Revolution. Remember, the American Revolution was in 1776. The French Revolution is shortly after, in 1789. The French understood helping the Americans, and we offered to help them in the future for the assistance that they provided us in winning the American Revolution. But we didn't do a very good job of helping them. But the French Revolution starts because it's a war between French society and the French monarchy. And basically the people against the king and the ruling class. Okay? And if you look over here, there's a whole list of causes. The biggest one, okay, and again, remember, the words in purple are your vocabulary. So if we cover those in the videos or in class, you need to have those done on your vocab sheet. And the yellow is what you're writing down for your notes. Okay? But French society was originally divided into 3 separate groups, and those groups didn't socialize with one another. They didn't mingle, is another word that you could use. Those 3 groups were, the first estate was the Catholic church officials or the clergy. The second estate was the wealthy and the nobility. They had land, they had money, they had power. And then the third estate were the commoners. Those are, your poor farmers, your homeless, your people that just didn't have wealth and weren't part of the church. And this group, the third estate, is the one that paid most of the taxes. Okay? And the third estate voiced their concerns to the king and the wealthy in the church that they had over the abuse of power. The king was racking up debt and using his tax dollars from the third estate to pay for it, okay? And then he just continuously taxed the people. So you could imagine their anger and frustration, okay? They simply wanted government to listen to them, to hear them. Eventually, they will rise up and call for a whole new government to treat them better, to treat them as they felt they deserved to be treated and to have their rights protected. Some of this they learned from the Enlightenment ideas, and some of it they learned from watching the American colonists break away from Great Britain. Okay. The third estate, again, called for the creation of a new government. The National Assembly, which was kind of their legislative body, similar to England's Parliament, all right, to create a monarchy in which the king's power was limited by the power of the people. That would be a constitutional monarchy. And we've already covered this when we talked about the revolution in England. The king dismissed them, locked them out of his court, just wouldn't have it, wouldn't listen to them one bit. Okay? They eventually stormed the French prison, Bastille. So this is the storming of Bastille. This is why they have Bastille Day. Okay? They also experienced food shortages while the king and the wealthy and the clergy were eating their fill. The people were going hungry in the streets. Okay. The outcome of the revolution, the result of all of it, is that the king and his wife, Marie Antoinette, and if you ever heard the history books talk about Marie Antoinette, and she says, let them eat cake, they tried to escape the French commoners. They were captured. They were executed. They had their heads chopped off. Okay? France will turn itself into a republic in which the majority will rule without dismissing minority rights. Okay? That's what a republic is. Okay? A democracy in France will be formed, but a very conservative one. Okay? They're not trying to revamp every single thing. They've just redone the government. So it will take some time, and they'll slowly transition into something that will be long-lasting. There will be a revolt in Haiti. So remember, the Glorious Revolution, or the Revolution in England, will be in the 1680s. The American Revolution is in 1776. The French Revolution is in 1789. And then the Haitian Revolution is in 1791. So do you see a pattern? As the American Revolution happens, the rest of the countries around the globe are starting to see revolutions as well. So Haiti, you can find that on the map. It's down in the Gulf of Mexico below Florida. Okay. Causes of this. Haiti was a colony of France, and so the ideas of the French Revolution will spread to them. Again, most populations, most societies are incredibly divided along socioeconomic lines. So your poor don't mix with your wealthy nobilities or your church officials. And those lesser groups, they demand to be treated equally. Okay. You'll see a former house slave will organize the revolution. We'll talk about him a little bit more. Okay. But again, the slaves are going to rebel, and they want to be treated like human beings. They want to be treated equally and fairly, and they want to have a voice. Okay, and the final revolution that we're going to talk about is the revolution in Latin America. Okay, and if you look at the dates, 1808 to the 1820s, again, we hit 1776, and revolutions just start are being inspired to happen across the globe. Okay, again, you see a cause. Society is incredibly divided along socioeconomic lines. So the rich and the poor, basically, the rich have all the power, the poor have none, and they're abused, they're oppressed, they're not treated well, and they're not listened to. At some point, people, when their needs aren't met, they rebel, they revolt. Political power, again, is monopolized by just one single group, the wealthy. Okay, economic power, too. And with the French Revolution and the revolution in Haiti, a lot of lesser groups are finding that they don't have to respond to the king. They don't have to honor the king. And then you'll start to see countries like Mexico and Brazil become independent. And this is not, again, it's not a new thing, but ideas of the Enlightenment, of governments needing to treat their people fairly, equally, and honor their rights, because government gets its authority from the people. Those ideas are starting to spread across the globe.